Well, FM22 is finally here. The head coach is back for a bigger and better edition. We're an unemployed journeyman working under a director of football model. We don't get to choose our job, we don't get to choose our players, staff, or take any dealings in our contracts. But can we still make it to the top? There's only one way to find out. Yes, hello and welcome along to episode 1 of this FM22 long-term story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. For those of you that have been here before, you'll know exactly what we're about to embark on. For those of you that haven't, we are taking on one hell of a challenge. An unemployed journeyman save, we start with no coaching badges, no experience. We work our way up from the bottom. But it's not as simple as that either. We are working strictly under the Director of Football Challenge, which means we have no say in transfer staffing or contracts. We are reliant on our Director of Football to give us the tools to succeed. If they don't, it could be a very long save. You can see we've started the game. We've loaded every top league in Europe. We've also loaded the full pyramid in England and Scotland because, of course, we're an English manager and we want it to be as realistic as possible. And we've loaded the odd other one as well. You can see the Indian National League. We've got the MLS loaded and the Chinese Super League. We want to try and create a bit of variety. But we are English and we're likely to get offered UK jobs first. But you all know the process now. We apply for every job going and we try and be realistic all the way up. We have to take into account financial, reputation, anything that may help us choose another job. We have to take into account realistically. We can't just stay at a club because we like it or because we've grown to like the players. We have to do what we think we would do in real life. So just to prove to you before we skip ahead and try and find ourselves a job, we have started with Sunday League footballer reputation, no coaching badges, the smallest reputation, a 28-year-old English manager with a little bit of Irish blood. And we've got to try and make it. Don't know how I prefer tactical stylist, vertical tiki-taka. We'll work that out and change that along the way. If you're looking forward to the series, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. If you're new along and you haven't already, subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. Throughout the beta period, we'll have 2 FM22 episodes every single day. Our One Club story starts tomorrow at 11:30am, and then at 3:30pm, we're going to have the head coach every day until the full game release. From there, the series will rotate each day, but daily FM22 content, I can't wait for it, and I hope you're looking forward to it too. There's a link in the eye above to the Twitch channel too, daily live streams throughout the beta there. But let's get cracking, shall we? We've got to find a job. We're going to take the usual process, we're going to go on holiday, apply for every single job that's going, and we're going to come back when we get an interview. Our only aim today is to get interviews, get a job, and go and meet our first club. Well, back very quickly for job interviews. I saw an interesting thing. Helsingborg have sacked Joaquin Gomez, a former Luton coach. We've got job interview offers from Cefn Druids in the Welsh Premier League. What a coincidence it would be after our Bangor City save last year if we ended up starting in Wales here. We've got one at FC KTP, who are in the Finnish Premier League. And I think that's it. They're the only two we've got. Have we got another one? Oh no, Awazal FC. Where are they from? Apologies for the pronunciations. An Indian Premier League club. So there is quite an array of choices here. We've got to succeed in an interview though. So let's attend the first one. Been a lot of talk in the FM features about the new press conference questions. Will there be any in the interviews though? We're looking to forge ahead with a career by any means necessary. What are the targets? They want to finish mid-table in the Welsh Premier League. That seems all right. We can manage that. I'm going to say that's a fair target. Transfer budget of £1,000. It's the Welsh Premier League. We're not expecting much. What would we like to ask for? Nothing. That is possibly the shortest interview we've ever done in the head coach. I'm not sure that we're the main candidate based on that. They're either sure they want us or they're sure they don't, and we're just being interviewed to tick the boxes. Let's go to Finland. That would be an interesting one, wouldn't it? So, glad to get the chance to talk to the club. Same questions again. The club is looking for a manager comfortable working with limited resources. I have no problem with that. We expect that early doors. What makes you the ideal candidate to save a club unexpectedly struggling against relegation? So is it a Scandinavian league that goes winter to winter? We might be partway through the season there. I'm going to be a strong motivator and leader. We've got to fight bravely against relegation. I've got to consider the fact that I haven't got the second Finnish league loaded, so we need to have a look at where they are and whether they can actually survive. So I'm going to say that's fine. We can meet the job. Transfer budget of £2,000. I think we're seeing a theme. Wage budget's fine. We can't ask for anything and we've got no requests. So let's very quickly have a look at them and where they are in the league. So they're bottom. They're 3 points behind. Have they got loads of games to go? A few. 8 games left. So that's potentially an opportunity. It's certainly not we're down and doomed. We're going to be all right if we get a chance to keep them up. And then one from the Indian Premier League. It would be an interesting place to start. I've had fun here off camera before. So let's see what we can do. We don't want to make any changes to the backroom team because we're not going to be in charge of that. Finishing a top half. That sounds interesting, but we'll go for it. If given a job, we can meet expectations. So I can't see any new questions in the job interviews, but I don't need a big budget. We just want to get a job. We're going to say what they want at the moment. There's nothing outlandish coming from any of the chairmen or directors. So let's go and see if we get any of the jobs. Fingers crossed, a start in Wales or Finland. That's what I'm hoping for. We are back just 4 days into the save and 3 days post interviews, and we have been offered 2 jobs. The one from Finland, we always talk about how hard it is to not have a pre-season, so it was probably my least favourite anyway. And from Wales or India, I feel we have to go for Wales. We have to take the realistic option. For £700 a week, would we go and move to the other side of the world? Would we be able to afford to do that and take a complete gamble? I know the club is slightly bigger, but don't forget their expectations are also bigger. They want to finish in the top half of the Indian Premier League. And from what we can see, they're not an old historic club. They're not a massive club. Yes, they've got a big stadium, but I don't feel that that's a good option for us to start our career. If we fail there, it could go very wrong. Kefren Druids, on the other hand, mid-table finish, quite local, so we've got an easy route back to England or Scotland if things go wrong. And we've got pretty minimal expectations just to be a mid-table side and develop youth players. Work within the wage budget. We have to take that job. I know it's not the most exciting one, but it is the most realistic. So let's start the negotiations. I just want to work up, see if I can get an extra 10 quid a week in, up to 200. Should we be ballsy and go for 210? Let's suggest those terms. They've taken it. So we've got a 12-month contract, a pre-season to get under our belt. And ironically, after the Bangor City save last year, we talked about how much we were going to miss Welsh football. And for the first ever time on camera, our head coach series is going to begin with a Welsh football club. We are going to be the manager of Kefren Druids. Now we've got to go and meet the players and the staff because this is going to be one hell of a journey. A lot of work to be done. I'll see you in a moment for our first day in the job. And the beauty, of course, is we're still going to get most of the pre-season because we've got the job so early. It's a fantastic first move for us. It's something new here as well. Really think, with the really short interview we had, maybe we'd been favoured from the start. So let's see what we've got to work with. I'm imagining not a lot, but they've got a fierce rivalry with Connah's Quay, who are the most recent champions of the division. 3,000 capacity stadium. Actually, better training facilities than I thought they were going to have. Below average is very good for this level. Not so good on the youth recruitment or facilities. Tiny transfer budget, tiny wage budget. And I'd imagine there'll be a lot of amateur players here. So, there's no director of football. We'll need to get the chairman working on that. The assistant manager, Jason Starkey, is absolutely useless. 2 for people management, 1 for judging ability, 2 for judging potential. That isn't great. Last season, they finished 12th in the Welsh Premier League. I presume, pandemic-wise, they didn't go down. And Welsh Cup, they enter at the 3rd round. Maybe we can hope for a little cup run or something to raise our reputation. Realistically, though, unless we get them into Europe or do well and get like the TNS or Connah's Quay job, we probably haven't got a route to the top very quickly from here. So we'll look at that squad in a minute. It's lined up as a 4-2-3-1, which the tactic I like plenty. I've used it before. We know the expectations already. I noticed a couple of years later they expect us to become best of the rest, which is interesting. We'll do all of the usual first day stuff, but that's not what we're going to worry about today. We are going to meet the staff we've got to work with already. We'll go and set the chairman to get the rest in, including the director of football. Once the director of football's in, they do everything. So not having one here already might slow down the transfer market slowly. And then more importantly, we've got to meet the players because largely they're probably what we're going to be working with in the first window. So very quickly, before we crack on, It's our first job in management, but I want to see how much of the wage budget is left. £52. My word, this is going to be a challenge. We have never started, I don't think, this small. Half a star reputation, tiny club really, semi-professional, 75 season ticket holders, no club legends. Let's have a look at the staff and then we'll get on to the bit you all want to see. No recruitment team, just what you want for the head coach. One physio, which is a start, I guess, and 4 coaching staff. So that side looks pretty well catered for. We've got a head of youth development who's on a month to month. I've seen worse. They're good working with youngsters. They're adaptable. They've got knowledge of a few leagues, including Bangladesh, where they've been a youth coach. We've seen Jason Starkey already, the assistant. Jordan Hadaway is the coach. One of the worst coaches I've ever seen on FM, but he's only 19. Wow. That's impressive. And then a head of sports science, so we haven't got a physio actually. And attribute-wise, 5 out of 20 is probably not that bad at this level. Certainly the best at their job that we've got in that coaching team. I think the new director of football will be busy, but we need the chairman to get a good one. Des Williams is the man we're reliant on. Let's see what he can produce. But we've got to finish this episode in the only way that you would like. We've got to look at this squad. It is going to be so poor. Let's get the star rating from the person who's got 1 for judging ability. I'm sure they won't be that accurate. Actually, there's a few stars in there. There's a few players with good ratings, and there's actually a couple of names I recognise, which is very nice. Let's have a look at the development centre first, just in case there's any youth players ready to step up. There's actually a few former Welsh internationals and that have moved to the Welsh Premier League in real life this summer. There's a few good players we'll be coming up against, the likes of Neil Eardley, David Edwards. There's a 1.5 star fullback there, Max Davidson. That's not a great standard of player, so I'm hoping we won't need to promote him. But we have got to promote youth eventually, haven't we? So let's look at the senior squad and hope they're not needed. It's a lot of 1 and 1.5 star here, isn't there? Let's try and pick out the best players from each position though. Looks like we've got 2 okay keepers. An experienced 33-year-old Michael Jones. 2.5 star ability, can play either role well. I like the new market value thing, valued at nothing, on 240 quid a week. That seems an awful lot. That's about a tenth of the budget. So that suggests there's going to be a lot of amateur players, but played over 130 league games for the club. He seems to be a bit of a legend. Certainly an icon, so he's not bad. I think he'll be all right for now. Can keep us in the division, I'm sure. And then 18-year-old Hudson Parry. Now in Wales, you've got to have 2 under-19s in the squad, as we very well know from last year. So, composure 4. Oh no, positioning 2. My least favourite thing in the world is a keeper or a defender with poor positioning. But we've got a decent number 1. That'll do. As a third keeper on non-contract terms, I think they're better than the current number 2. It's only because they're not an under-19, isn't it? Let's move on to the back 4, where it looks like we've got some stars. Kane Lewis is a fullback, 23 years of age. Natural right back, but versatile to an extent if we need him. He's got 4-star ability. He's pretty solid across the board, actually. I'm very happy with him as a fullback. Probably have to play quite deep. We're going to have to look after people, but has played for TNS. Came through at Liverpool. Looks a decent player to me. I'm happy with that one. Jacob Lever, 4.5 star centre-half. Very interesting attribute makeup. Again, poor positioning, poor tackling, but decent in the air. Over 6 foot. We'll change that to feet and inches before the next episode. Driven personality, right-footed only, and not the best passer of the ball. So I don't think we're going to be playing out from the back too much, but nice to see a centre-half with pace, actually. I've got to say that. The other star defender is Yelani Bio, but I'm pretty sure I know this name, and he's a holding midfielder. He can do both. So given the fact Kane Lewis is a great right back, we'll probably play him in the holding role. The 4-star ability ball winner, and is probably the type of player we'll need in this team. 1 international cap for Guinea. He's a very good footballer. Again on big money, 300 quid a week, but looks worth every penny. Definitely some good defenders to work with. My problem is, I'm looking at the left-hand side of the defence, and for another centre-half, and no one's rated over 1.5 stars. So the left-backs, Stefan Edwards, he played for TNS, didn't he? No, Aberystwyth before. He is not great. It's the mental stats, the positioning, the anticipation that lets him down. At 31, he'll do a job for now, but he's wanted. He'll probably be on his bike because he's transfer listed by the club already, and we're not going to be able to do anything to stop him leaving. So I think left back is where the director of football will need to work when he comes in. Andy Brown is a 1-star ability left back, can play anywhere up the wing and really isn't very good. Certainly doesn't fill me with hope if any team's got quality on their right hand side. The other defenders, we have got Tony Davis, a 36-year-old 1.5-star centre half. I thought he was going to be worse, but very slow. Accelerates, dives into tackles, lots of attributes I don't like. We've got Phil Mooney, a 29-year-old right back, can play centre half and isn't disastrous, but is quite short. Dominic Hesketh, 3 greyed out stars. That's woeful, he can't play. Let's move further down. We've got Harry Farnsworth, who's a midfielder who can cover at centre half, but again at 19 isn't really good enough for first team level. Good character though, which might help off the bench. Are there any other defenders? Have I missed anyone? We've got 2 defensive positions where we are awful. We're going to have to work on that. Let's move into midfield. Jose Ferreira is a right winger, 22 years of age, 2.5-star ability, can also play right back, can also play holding midfield, centre half and left back. So he might have to become a utility left back for now if we don't get someone in. But not the worst player in the world. And I can imagine if a director of football does get in 2 or 3 good players, potentially a solid player to have on the bench and a versatile one as well. So he's not too bad. Brandon Lockett is a 2-star ability holding midfielder. Again, 4.5 potential. Definitely a backup to Bio. Actually a natural in centre mid rather than the holding role. But doesn't really have much technical ability. So a substitute at best. Pavel Vieira is the other star. 4.5-star ability centre mid. 29 years of age. He has played for Aberystwyth, Bangor City. Played for some good clubs actually. And is rated pretty well. A bit of an all-round game. Not so much. In fact, he's 4.5 star as a box-to-box and as a playmaker. So could suit either of my preferred midfield roles. Only on 180 quid a week. Again, 1 international cap, this time for Bissau Guinea. And someone we can build a team around, I think. Certainly going to be a star in the first season. Derek Amankwa is 1-star ability and got no stamina. And Ben Wynn is 1.5-star ability, 4-star potential. Not a good player, but some promise. So maybe could do a job off the bench. There's not really many big personalities here though either, which could be an issue when we're behind in games, which will inevitably happen with this side. Let's move on to the wings because we've got Joe 4, who is 1.5-star ability, 3-star potential. Let me know what you think of these players as we're going along. Now, I think he's got a role to play. One, because he's only on 25 quid a week, but also because he's natural in any of the midfield roles. So that could give him the versatility again to be a key player on the bench. And he's more attacking minded than some of the others too. Got a season under his belt for us. Could be important. Let's move on to Charlie Edge, who looks like a star winger. In fact, we've got a couple of these. Charlie Edge is a left-sider, 4-star ability. Where do I recognise the name from? So probably English non-league as a youth player. He is class. Can play left back. Again, it's not ideal for one of our very best players, but could be a utility left back if needed. He's got the attributes bar the tackling one, but going forward, he's a superstar. We have to find a way to make him key in this team. I'm hoping we've got a sort of target man up front who's going to be good quality, because we've got delivery with him. We've got delivery from right back with Lewis, and I'm hoping this right winger, Emmanuel Agyemang, will be just as good too. He's 3.5-star ability, 5-star potential. Oh, not a right winger at all. A number 10 and a centre forward. Oh, that's ruined it. He can't finish. He can't really pass the ball. And on the left-hand side, he's right-footed, so his crossing attribute doesn't work. I think the assistant manager's right. We're going to have to try and train the Italian as a right winger and just get him to work the line and get crosses in, the same as Charlie Edge on the other side. Because I think that's going to be our main threat. It's not going to be pretty football this year. And actually, look, Bangor City last season. I thought the name was familiar. Did we have him at the start of the Bangor City save? I think we did. Let me know down in the comments if you remember. Let's move on to the attacking players. In fact, we've got one more left winger, Niall Flint. A natural number 10. Probably going to have to retrain as a centre midfielder. Not the hardest worker, but maybe as a backup playmaker. And again, he's a decent finisher. Might even go as a striker, but a solid squad player nonetheless. Another one that's wanted though, so that could be a concern. depending on who the director of football becomes. 3 more to go. Aaron Pamei, 1.5 star ability is rubbish, but can play on either wing. Apologies if any of the real players see this as well. I'm judging you on FM, not on you in real life. George Harry, 2.5 star ability, 4.5 potential. Decent all-rounder. Maybe not the best technically in the key attributes, not got great composure, not great off the ball, but could potentially be a bit of a target man, could run in behind. Just a solid all-round striker. And even as a pressing forward, could be a hard worker for us alongside a good player. I think we're really a striker short unless Cody Roberto is a superstar. Please be. 3-star ability. He's the best rated striker. Is he any good? Oh, yes, please. About 6'3", 4. Big target man. Good jumping reach. Good heading ability. So we've got a very clear game plan, haven't we? 4-4-2. Pray the director of football gets a good left side of a defence in. Although, can Barrio play in a holding role then? Maybe we go 4-5-1 or 4-1-4-1 and get him up front in between the two wingers and just feed his head. I've got a lot to think about here tactically. Let me know as we go along. What do you think in the comments we should do? As the last player is Darren Evans, 2.5 grade out stars. And you know what? He's not very good. He's awful off the ball. But he's the best finisher at the club, quickest striker off the mark and best composure. He might get game time, surprisingly. It will depend on who's signed. We'll set the director of football to deal with the responsibilities. So the first thing we're going to be doing once we finish this episode is getting a director of football in. And that is not going to be up to us. We're going to go to the staff tab. We are going to set the chairman to hire and fire the director of football and technical director. Once they bring in the director of football, they will be set to the rest of the staffing, the transfers and the contracts. And we just do the coaching. We work with what we're given. But that is the squad we've got to work with. Cefn Druids are our first club in the FM22 edition of the Head Coach. For the first ever time, we start in Wales in this series. And my word, it looks like we've got a job in our hands. We've got some really decent players, 4 or 5 that can really do a job for us. But there are some massive gaps in this squad. And against the best teams in the league and against a professional side like TNS, there is a real chance we could get found out. If you're looking forward to finding out how we get on, whether we can progress to the top, or will we start with sackings very quickly, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. Please do turn that notification bell on. You'll get alerts as every episode releases. Throughout the beta up until the 8th of November, we will have 2 daily episodes. 11:30 tomorrow morning, our Hemel Hempstead One Club story will start, building the clubs from the lowest playable league to the very top of English and European football. That's the plan anyway. And then we are going to be back at 3:30 tomorrow with episode 2 of this one. I can't wait to get going. I'm delighted in a way that we're in Wales, but I know this is probably our toughest start yet. Thank you very much for watching and coming along. It is greatly appreciated as always. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow as we play our first game with Cefn Druids. I'll see you there.